With tears in their eyes, hundreds of people from various walks of life bid adieu to the great soldier who laid his life to protect the honor of the nation. Prominent among the dignitaries who gathered here to pay the last respects to the soldier were Punjab Governor Banwari Lal Purohit, some army veterans besides the officials from the local administration. But the question is, how long Indian sons will have to sacrifice their life as Pakistan continues to aid and abet terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. With camera person Aman Gupta, this is Manjeet Sehgal in Mohali for India Today.
And joining me live now to speak on Colonel Manpreet, the funeral that he attended today, as well as the operation in general, the ethos of the army, the families, is General Ved Prakash Malik, former Chief of the Army Staff. Always a privilege, General Malik, to have you with us. I wish it were on happier circumstances or a happier occasion. Sadly, we are here, on a day when two army braves, Colonel Manpreet Singh and Major Ashish, have both been consigned to the flames. You attended the funeral ceremony of Colonel Manpreet Singh, and I know as an army man, a lifelong military man, General Malik, you would have attended many of these. The pain is real. Being there is real. To see the pain of the families on the unit is very real. Share your thoughts with us, General.
Good evening, Shiv. Yes, it's been a sad, last few days have been sad ever since we learned the news about Manpreet and Ashish and the Deputy SP of the J&K Police
yes,
having lost their lives in the action in Anantnag. Both Manpreet and Ashish, they belong to my regiment, and they were both brave soldiers, upcoming soldiers. Both of them have been decorated with Sena Medal already.
yes.
And so it's very, very sad to lose such strong officers. It's always sad to lose anybody, but those who have worked with you so closely and whom you have guided and mentored them yourself, you feel pain. The pain is greater, I would say. Yes, I know. I mean, this operation has been going on, and I hope that they succeed in eliminating those people who have carried out these actions against the security forces, and we lost these people.
Yes.
But the pain, as I said, it will not go from us, from our mind, particularly of the families whom we know very closely and who are so young themselves. You've been mentioning about the son,
Yes.
who, although wearing uniform, but it brought tears to one's eyes when you see that young boy lighting the fire, funeral fire. And I know these are sacrifices one has to make because of the kind of conditions in which they are fighting. I have myself, my son commanded that sector just a few years ago, and
Yes.
I have myself been in charge of that sector when I was a drill commander. South Kashmir has been causing a lot of pain for quite some time now, and I'm hoping that we will now concentrate our active operations, both sides of East Punjab, this side as well as on the other side in the Jori Poonch area. It is required. And I don't think we can take any more casualties of this nature where the commanding officers have to go themselves, lead the operations, and then pay for their bravery. And
yes, indeed.
sacrifice themselves.
And General Malik, that is something that people are trying to come to terms with. People in the armed forces understand it. Sometimes commanding officers do lead from the front. But to the lay person, the lay viewer, I want someone of your experience to explain it, because there are so many variables, like you said, sir, in South Kashmir. Sometimes the occasion presents itself in such a way that the intelligence is there, the commanding officer feels the need to lead from the front. Can you help us explain under what circumstances something like this would have happened? Because it is extremely rare and therefore extra painful to see a commanding officer killed in action, sir.
Shiv, our training all the way from the time we joined the military college or NDA has been to lead from the front.
Yes.
So everyone feels that he has to lead from the front in the kind of operation that the army is involved. The second thing is that there is a sense of responsibility also. After all, Manpreet was commanding the battalion,
Yes.
and Ashish was a senior company commander whose whole company was involved in this. So there is the second aspect, which is of responsibility, which we have to bear on our shoulders, whatever be our rank. And so this was a particular operation in which his battalion and those companies were involved. And Manpreet felt that he has to lead from the front, he has to go with the troops. And in such operation, counterinsurgency operations or counter-terrorism operations, when you are moving through very difficult terrain of mountains, jungles, you can be ambushed anywhere.
Yes.
You do not know those few people, the terrorists may be occupying a more advantageous position on top of the mountains or on top of the trees somewhere. And, a burst can kill 2-3 people who are close to each other. So these are difficult operations. And also some people who think that why should a commanding officer be there? I don't agree with them. As I said, it is training, it is responsibility, it is the ethos of the army, and it is the leadership style. Our style of leadership is quite different to what you see in any other profession.
Yes.
We have to be there. We have to be responsible. We have to lead from the front whenever it is required. So I don't agree with people who are questioning that aspect. And both are brave soldiers. Both are experienced soldiers. Both have been awarded gallantry awards earlier. So anybody who questions their action or being I think is quite wrong.
I'm very glad that you've put that into perspective, because that's a question that's been going there, so we can lay that to rest. You've heard it from a former chief of army staff, no less, and it doesn't get bigger than that. General Malik, last two questions. One of them is, the question of morale. This is an operation that is still unfolding, sir. It's not over just yet. But many people have expressed worry about, the pain that soldiers and officers will feel in a unit when their commanding officer has been killed in action. It's, tantamount to seeing a father figure or a person like your own father, dying in action. The emotions of it cannot be ignored. We have one of the most professional, if not the most professional armed force in the world. There is no question of, stopping to grieve, etc., because this is a live operation. But what would be happening inside the unit at this point of time, sir?
Look, people would be upset.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it. People would be upset. People would be wanting to see that those who have caused this are eliminated as soon as possible. But let me assure you that it is our professional duty, professional responsibility to carry on with the action that we have been taking. So I have never ever seen any unit getting into with a bad morale kind of a situation and not undertaking the responsibility or the duty that they have to. I have seen even some senior officers once, they lose their lives, but the others there, they want to take revenge, if I can use that word. That is to eliminate the people who have caused this pain. But whether it is army or it is the Air Force tradition that when somebody loses his life, the whole squadron takes off.
Yeah.
And they go to the sky, and so similarly, the same fashion, the same custom continues in the army also. And nobody hesitates from taking further action or carrying out your responsibility or the duty which is given to you.
And also these units, they don't even have the luxury of, any kind of downtime when something like this is taking place. The
No,
question,
no.
the last question, General Malik, then is what next? This current operation is still unfolding. Will there be further action beyond this as well? Because after all, according to reports, 2 of these terrorists are said to be Pakistan nationals from the other side. Do you see any further action beyond the immediate that's happening in Kokarnag, sir?
Look, the actions will carry on.
Yeah.
I would consider this as a tactical action, and I suppose there will be many more tactical actions, both within J&K, whenever there is any information about the terrorists hiding there. Also, there will be actions along the line of control to make sure that nobody can infiltrate through the line of control. But, these are all tactical actions, maybe to some extent operational. My worry is not that. My worry is that this will carry on. My worry is, why should it carry on?
Yes.
My worry is, why should it carry on for the last 50 years now? I have been in the army for a long time, and I have seen this cross-border activities of Pakistan going on since 1980s. Earlier it was Punjab, and then later on spread to J&K and even sometime all over India. So I personally feel that it is time now for us to look at these things strategically, and taking into keeping in mind that whatever actions that we have taken so far, they haven't resulted in policy change in Pakistan.
Yes.
So my view is that it's time for us now for an integrated policy with all wings of the government, not only militarily, but also diplomatically, politically, and cause some kind of a strategic disruption on the other side, that they are made to halt this policy and be prepared for any escalation if it takes place. We keep talking about cricket ko band kar do, hockey ko band kar do. These are not going to make them change their policies. So I'm not really bothered so much about cricket ko band kare ya khelte rahe. But I'm now concerned with some kind of a major policy decision to be taken by the government, which can cause strategic disruption on the other side, so that we have taken such actions earlier. In 1971, we took that. Then we took 84 when we went and occupied Siachen Glacier ranges area. In 99, while we took the advantage, we were able to ensure that they cannot occupy, but we didn't take any greater advantage as far as the terrorism or counter-terrorism or J&K part is concerned. So we have to think now bigger and not just retain, keep thinking that our casualties come ho gayi, zyada ho gayi. That depends on what the enemy is doing. But the fact is that the enemy has not changed its policy. I mean, that's my view. So therefore, we have to look at an integrated strategic disruption on the other side, how we can do it. But before that, we have to make sure that we ourselves are working together and we have an integrated plan. And we are also prepared for any escalation if that takes place.
When one gets a sobering view and a reality check of that kind from someone like General VP Malik, it carries a huge amount of weight and there's no debate. That's a very, very sobering view you've left us with, General Malik, and I thank you for that. It is highly appreciated because it gives all of us and hopefully the system something to think about, that while we may grieve the loss of 2 fine young officers and a policeman from the Jammu and Kashmir police, let us never forget that nothing we have done in 40 years has resulted in policy change in the country that sends the terrorists that cause these effects on our territory. This is something that I want to keep the spotlight on as we continue to pay tribute to brave men and women who continue to enter the crossfire to keep this country safe. General VP Malik, always an honor and a privilege, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time and your wisdom here on India Today. Well, like I said, fresh firing continues in the Kokarnag region. The operation is still not over because the army continues to hunt for the Anantnag terrorists, including 2 Pakistani nationals, we're told. On the 3rd day of this anti-terror operation, the 15-corps GOC and other senior officers are very closely monitoring this emerging situation, which also includes foreign weapons supplied by China, not for the first time. Take a look.
Hunted down and cornered. Terrorists behind the deaths of Major Ashish Dhonchak, Jammu and Kashmir's DSP Humayun Bhatt and Colonel Manpreet Singh are holed up in the hills near Kokernag in Anantnag. On the 3rd day of the Kashmir anti-terror operation, with GOC 15 Corps and GOC Victor Force closely monitoring the mission, new generation weapons were deployed in the area.
यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि किस तरह के सेना के अफसर हैं वो यहाँ पर आए हुए हैं और यहाँ पर आपको दूसरी ओर दिखाएं तो ये एक खड़ी चढ़ाई है, ये एक दुर्गम पहाड़ है जहाँ पे सेना के जवान हैं, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस है, इसकी टीम है और यहीं पे एनकाउंटर साइट भी है। ड्रोन के जरिए एक तो नजर बनाई जा रही है।
Security forces have cordoned off the area and have launched a search operation to nab the terrorists.
Security forces have aimed the drone and are firing now following. This is where, yes, you see loud bombardment, the smoke bellowing out. This is where action has once again started right here in Kokernag. There you go, action on ground really taking place.
The 2 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists on the run are believed to be hiding in the natural caves in the mountains. Reports say rocket launchers are being used to hit the terror hideout.
3 दिन पहले यहाँ पर सेना की टुकड़ी इस पहाड़ी की तरफ गई थी और सेना को इत्तला मौसूल हुई थी कि वहाँ मिलिटेंट छुपे हुए थे। जो ही टुकड़ी वहाँ पर पहुंची तो वहाँ पहले से घात लगा कर बैठे मिलिटेंटों ने उन पर हमला कर दिया, जिसमें सेना के 3 ऑफिसर पुलिस समेत जो है जो शहीद हो गए। उसके बाद जो लगातार ऑपरेशन है जारी है।
Speaking to India today, J&K DGP Dilbagh Singh revealed that the terrorists have been boxed in and efforts are being made to complete counter-terror ops as soon as possible.
इत्तला थी कि 1 से लेके 3 तक भी हो सकते हैं और अभी तक जो साइटिंग या बाकी चीजें हैं 2 की बात अभी तक कुछ हद तक कंफर्म होने पे आ रही है। कॉर्डन ऑन है, ऑपरेशन चल रहा है। मुझे लगता है कि उनका सफाया जरूर हो जाएगा। रात भर हमारी टुकड़ियां तैनात भी हैं और काम भी चलता रहेगा।
With the terrorists cornered, security forces are set to avenge the killing of India's bravehearts. Bureau Report, India Today.
The deaths of Colonel Manpreet Singh and Major Ashish Dhonchak of the 19 Rashtriya Rifles has placed millions of us at an emotional peak. Feelings of anger, helplessness, confusion, bitterness, a search for answers that are beyond reach because the Anantnag operation, as you saw, is still in progress on day 3. But I did want to address a question I've been getting more than any other over the last 48 hours. And that's, what next for the 19 Rashtriya Rifles? What will they do? This, for me, is a very crucial question because it made me search for an answer. I spoke to a handful of former army battalion commanders, including some who've led Rashtriya Rifle units in the Kashmir Valley, very much like the 19 Rashtriya Rifles to which Manpreet and Ashish belonged. At this time, the 19 Rashtriya Rifles has no time for contemplation, hindsight, forget about rest. The active hunt for the terrorists is still on, and until the operation is completed, the unit remains on its feet. But this isn't any operation. Ask any army soldier or officer and they'll tell you this. Someone killing or even injuring your commanding officer is doing the equivalent of harming or killing your father. In an army unit, the commanding officer, in this case Colonel Manpreet Singh, is a father figure in a way that goes beyond the way you or I use that phrase. It is from him, Colonel Manpreet Singh, that flows the strength of the unit, its purpose, its dynamic, its sense of fraternity, everything. It would be an understatement to say that morale in the 19 Rashtriya Rifles unit would have taken a hit. Of course it's taken a hit. Of course people are upset in the unit. But not for a moment does that mean it has slowed them down. On the contrary, it would have galvanized them to complete this immediate operation as quickly as possible, as cleanly as possible, so that Colonel Manpreet Singh's death is not in vain. But what about revenge? Is there anything called badla at the unit level in the army? 2 of the terrorists in this encounter are Pakistani nationals, which means someone sent them across from the other side of the line of control. At this time, the 19 Rashtriya Rifles is immersed in the Anantnag hunt. But once it's over, officers I spoke to say their will for retribution remains. The will for retribution remains at the back of the mind of every man in the unit. That if someone sitting in POK or Pakistan could carefully help plan such an encounter, then they must be responded to at a time and place of the 19 RR's choosing. All of this is exponentially easier said than done. And we must always look at the bigger picture of how to stop terror in the first place, instead of just revenge at the unit level. But at this time, it will be difficult to do anything at all. The operation is in the hinterland. It is unlikely that intelligence resources have turned their gaze just yet at the source of these terrorists. But this will remain at the back of their minds, and it will remain there because in the food chain of forward areas, retribution at the tactical unit level is like an honor code. It's like a ghost that walks with you. The death of a commanding officer has most definitely strengthened their resolve to strike back. But at this time, there are too many variables in the Kashmiri hinterland. Any retribution, any badla, any revenge will require a great deal of planning and sound intelligence. These are humans we're talking about, not robots. They need closure. There's a chance no direct retribution may happen at all. But at the back of their minds, each man in 19 Rashtriya Rifles will hope that the opportunity for retribution presents itself. This isn't badla in the Bollywood way, or the way you and I probably process and understand it. Retribution isn't just about revenge. It's also a message. It's also about morale. It's also about closure and the ability to move on in every sense. All we can do is wish the 19 Rashtriya Rifles safe operations and happy hunting. Where is the Chinese Raksha Mantri? Why are there so many buzzing, swirling, viral questions over where Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu is? He's been missing from the public domain, from public appearances for nearly 3 weeks now, and that has set the cat among the pigeons. This comes just months after another Chinese minister suddenly and abruptly disappeared from public view for weeks at a time. This latest trend of disappearing Chinese ministers has fueled a large amount of speculation, some of it unserious, but some of it serious, about what might have happened, or is this part of a bigger scheme of things for President Xi Jinping? The real question remains, where is the defense minister of China? There are perhaps that many possibilities, as one can imagine, that this has fueled a huge headline across the world, especially when China's official spokesperson in a press conference shrugs and says he has no idea.
17th August, nearly a month ago, Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu was in Minsk to discuss military cooperation between Russia and Belarus. Another 12 days later, on 29th August, he addressed the China-Africa Forum in Beijing. Media reports claim that this was his last public appearance. Since then, he has disappeared. Li Shangfu's disappearance is now a viral topic of discussion. The US government believes Li has been put under investigation. The Financial Times reported this, citing senior officials. Reuters reported Li cancelled a meeting with Vietnamese defense officials at the last minute last week. The 2 Vietnamese officials told the news agency that Beijing has postponed the annual meeting. The US ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, took to social media platform X on Friday, claiming that the Chinese defense minister had not appeared at a scheduled meeting with the Singaporean chief of navy because he was placed under house arrest. He, however, did not attribute a source for the claims. Earlier, Ambassador Rahm Emanuel compared Xi Jinping's cabinet to an Agatha Christie's novel, and then there were none, in another of his social media posts mentioning Li Shangfu's disappearance. Seen as fiercely loyal to President Xi Jinping, Li Shangfu was appointed Defense Minister in March 2023. Before that, for a few months, he was the highest-ranked member of the Central Military Commission that oversees the Chinese armed forces. In 2018, as director of the Chinese military's Equipment Development Department, he was sanctioned by the US over the PLA's purchase of Russian military equipment. Li's biography and his title is still online, unlike Foreign Minister Qin Gang, whose internet footprint was scrubbed clean after his disappearance. Qin Gang's last appearance was in June.
Where is China's Defense Minister Li Shangfu? Is he under investigation?
I am not aware of the situation you mentioned.
China's silence on the disappearance of the top brass who were once touted as President Xi Jinping's lieutenants just keeps fueling the rumor mills further. Bureau Report, India Today.
Gaurav Sawant, who's been featuring this story on his show India First at 10 p.m. multiple times this week, joins me live. Gaurav, one half of this story is an internet joke. People are making a lot of fun. There's a lot of memes doing the rounds. But, I mean, this is dead serious. It's the Raksha Mantri of China. You've got the US ambassador in Japan tweeting from his official account, saying, something is rotten in Denmark and this is like an Agatha Christie novel. What's going on? Seriously, what's going on?
China's very opaque. Not many know what's going on, and those who know, if they tell, they may disappear too. Quite like Qin Gang, the foreign minister, and Li Shangfu, the defense minister, who's been missing, who was last seen in public on the 29th of August. And the question, as Rahm Emanuel, the American ambassador to Japan, very rightly asked, who next? Would, and then there were none. Perhaps that shows, as some analysts argue, the insecurities of Chinese President Xi Jinping. He's seen as the chairman of everything, as you well know, Shiv. He's the president of China. He's the chairman of the Central Military Commission. And he is the general secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. And he is the president for life. The third term gives him immense power. But is he able to exercise it? Or are there issues? Because there was some reports that seem to indicate that he was reprimanded by the elders, especially for the state of the economy. The real estate sector in China has virtually collapsed, and people are saying if anger on the street rises, the elders are telling him their rule may be challenged. So this does show insecurity if true. But the foreign minister is missing, the defense minister is missing, the three bosses of the rocket forces, they are missing. And 11 other commanders have been changed. So overall, things look rather uncertain in China. He was missing from G20. Was he fearing he was isolated? Is there trouble with Russia? Russia also engaging directly with North Korea. All of that would indicate perhaps Xi Jinping is quite hemmed in.
Right.
And he's counting his chickens before they're hatched, Shiv.
Very, very, very interesting and hugely intriguing. I don't think, calling this an Agatha Christie novel is an exaggeration at all. Let's hope we get some clarity very soon. This is, after all, a nuclear nation, defense minister, foreign minister. Nobody knows where they are at this point of time. We'll continue to report this for you. Gaurav, thanks very much for that. Well, like Gaurav was telling you, the Chinese President Xi Jinping is in the line of fire in Beijing. We're not making this up. He skipped the G20 for several different reasons that we've reported. But in China, he's considered the most powerful man. He's president for life. After Chairman Mao, he's considered one of the perhaps most powerful figures in Chinese politics. However, a report in Nikkei Asia claims Xi Jinping got an unprecedented reprimand from party elders for what's happening with the Chinese economy, which is in a tailspin, the collapse in the real estate sector, like Gaurav said, and a purge in the PLA rocket force. Here's everything you need to know about that.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is in the line of fire at home. Considered the most powerful leader in China after Chairman Mao, Xi Jinping, according to a report in Nikkei Asia, was reprimanded by elders of the Chinese Communist Party over the economic situation in China and rising joblessness. The elders, led by former Vice President Zheng Qinghong, made their displeasure very clear. The report says the Communist Party fears it could face unprecedented threat to its rule if the turmoil continues. This is the first time that the Chinese president, who's also the head of the Central Military Commission and the General Secretary of the Communist Party, has faced this kind of wrath of the elders.
At the core of what is happening in China is that the people don't trust their government. So the most significant statistic I've seen about the Chinese economy is that in the last 5 or 7 years, household savings have gone up 50%. In other words, people are putting their money in savings accounts. Effectively, they're hiding it in mattresses. Why? Because they don't believe the government will be able to handle the real estate situation. They don't believe the government will be able to handle the debt overhang. And most importantly, they don't believe the government is being honest with them.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is also in the line of fire for trouble in China's elite rocket force after a purge of top generals. In the first week of August, President Xi Jinping dismissed 2 of the senior-most generals in the People's Liberation Army rocket force, which oversees China's land-based missile and nuclear arsenal, reportedly on allegations of corruption. The double whammy of troubled economy and purge in the rocket force has hit Chinese morale.
चीन एक देश के रूप में एक विस्तारवादी देश है, हमेशा नेगेटिव डिप्लोमेसी का प्रयोग करता है और आज सिर्फ अमेरिका ही नहीं, पूरा विश्व इस बात को मान रहा है कि G20 जैसे जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच हैं, वहां शिरकत ना करके या जब एक कंसेंसस बन रही होती है किसी मुद्दे को लेकर के उसमें शामिल ना होकर के चीन इस तरह के मंचों को हतोत्साहित करने का काम करता है.
Sluggish economy and declining foreign investment are not President Xi Jinping's only troubles, according to the report. President Xi is seen to be skipping the G20 summit in India to avoid losing face. He fears China's economy and need for rules-based order may be discussed at the summit, where he may increasingly feel isolated in the meeting of democracies. Xi Jinping fears facing tough questions on the Chinese economy. To add to China's troubles, there has been no breakthrough in the stalled talks with the United States, despite the visit of US Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. Xi Jinping not coming for the G20 summit clearly puts China in the dock. Bureau Report, India Today.
That's it on 5 Live. Thanks so much for watching.